What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel, and unfortunately welcome back to the living room. As you guys can see there in the intro, it is raining again here in Pensacola, Florida, and that's basically all it's done for the last week and a half is rain. And it's just getting old because anything outdoors is a washout right now. Doesn't matter whether you're trying to go fishing, camping, work on the camper, anything I've tried to do outdoors, it's just been a complete washout. The only good thing that's come from all this rain is I hadn't had to go out there and water the garden. So that's a good thing. I mean, obviously I'm not wasting water from the house, and then the plants are getting that good old like natural rainwater and not like hose water, which is probably not the best thing for them. I decided in today's video to take you guys on a little trip with me out to the Okaloosa Island Pier. Now, the reason I want to talk to you guys about this is I've seen a ton of comments, and we're in that time of the year right now where the king has returned. The Silver King is on the Okaloosa Island Pier. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is tarpon season at the Okaloosa Island Pier over on Okaloosa Island, which is right beside Destin, Florida, if you're not familiar with it. And this place like just draws these big, giant tarpon in this time of the year. Usually it fires up a little bit like towards the end of June and lasts the whole month of July. And some of these guys out here catching these tarpon, it is absolutely insane. Now, if you guys watched the last video, I told you guys I tried my hand at it earlier this week and did not do well. Let me tell y'all right now.
Listen up when you feel that paddle coming. This drag I thought I said oh, just right there, you see him? He just missed me. He tried to eat me.
All right, what do I do here, Mike?
Well, there's still probably more coming around. There's some balling right out there.
What in the world?
Oh no, that's not good, is it?
What happened?
There's line under there. Look at them out there coming. Another big one coming.
Are you kidding me? I just broke that freaking swim bait off.
You know what? If you'd have had a live bait right here, Brent, you should have seen him eating live baits right here. Yeah.
No.
I did. I had one.
It hung up under the pier. There were people hooking up all around me. Brant's dad, Mike, hooked up on one. His buddy Jerry, I saw people hooking up on them left and right, and I couldn't figure it out. I mean, and it's definitely a different level of fishing when you go out there on these piers. But what I want to address with you guys is the chaos that ensues when somebody hooks up on a giant fish on the pier. Not necessarily just a tarpon, but just a giant fish in general. Over at the Gulf State Pier over in Alabama, they catch a lot of big jacks over there, a lot of big bull reds. Obviously at Okaloosa Island Pier, they're catching these tarpons right now. It's a great place to target kings as well. You guys have seen videos where Brant has landed kings out there at the Okaloosa Island Pier. But I want to talk to you guys about what happens when a big fish gets hooked on a pier. And I'm going to tell you what this whole conversation is stemming from. I've gotten a couple comments on videos. I've seen comments on Brant's videos. I've seen comments on Matt's videos talking about these guys running up and down the pier when they hook up on a big fish. And people's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. If you stepped on my combo, I'd be so mad, and yada, yada, yada. And it's just like, if you're making those comments, you've never hooked a giant fish on the pier. Let's get that out there first and foremost, because if you had, you would be fully aware of what the etiquette on the pier is. Or if you're not, you probably had people mad at you. Because if you let one of these fish, you hook it up and it takes off running down the pier, you can't stop these fish, okay? These guys are using like 6500 series reels with, you know, plenty of braid, big stout backbone rods. You're not gonna turn these tarpon while they're green. They're gonna go wherever they wanna go, and all you can do is keep up with them. Now, why do these guys run up and down the pier? That's the big question. That's the comments I see. And you guys, I'm gonna show you guys right now. This is actually a comment from today on Matthew Isbell, Bama Beach Bums video, about how he was being rude and obnoxious for chasing his fish. And he's like, just turn your fish. And guys, you can't always just turn a fish. It doesn't matter what kind of equipment you're using. Sometimes those fish need time to run. Now, if you don't follow your fish, number one, you're gonna start getting yelled at real fast, because if people's got lines in the water and you let a fish run up and down the pier and you don't move with it, every single rod that's hanging over that pier is gonna be tied up in your line, and ain't nobody gonna be happy about that. When you hook up on one of these big fish, the first thing that you're gonna see people do is take off. They're gonna figure out which way the fish is going, because as soon as that fish feels that pressure, it's gone. It's going somewhere other than where it's at right then and there when you hook it up. Now, if it runs at 9 times out of 10 from what I've seen, now this could not be right, I'm just telling you from my experience, when you hit these fish And when they jack them up and they get them hooked up, it seems to me like their natural tendency is to run out. They're going to run towards the end of the pier. I'm assuming they're trying to head to deeper water. The first thing you have to do is start running the rail to get out there to follow these fish. That is how you handle them. There's no way you're going to turn them. You're not going to turn a giant tarpon on the pier when he's green as soon as you hooked him up. I don't care what kind of equipment you're using out there. It's just not going to happen. So that's why these guys are running. The common courtesy is to clear the rail. If you don't have a line in the water, grab your combo, get it back, and let them run the rail to get down to where they need. Everybody does it. You guys are just seeing Brant and Beach Bum and these guys, but I'm telling you right now, Brant Peacher's father, Mike, is literally like a local legend catching tarpon on the pier. This is not an exaggeration. If you walk out to Okaloosa Island Pier and you ask anybody out there that is there on a regular basis who Mike Peacher is, they are going to know exactly who you're talking about. This dude catches tarpon like they're like bass in a loaded stocked pond. I'm telling y'all that right now. He caught one while I was there, got it on its side. His buddy Jerry got one on its side. But he had to chase his fish. It's not like he's doing something different than what you guys are seeing in every other video. Honestly, when somebody hooks into one of these things, it's complete chaos. When it really gets crazy is when multiple people hook up at one time, because these things come in wads is what they call them. And when they come in, there's a decent chance that multiple people are gonna get hooked up. And honestly, it's kind of like a dance once they start running around and doing all this, because obviously if you're out on the end of the pier and a big wad of tarpon comes in and like 4 people hook up on them, at that point, you know, everybody's running. Somebody's going in a different direction with their fish. So you got to figure out whose line's where, if you got to go over, if you got to go under, if you can stay put, because sometimes you can. I mean, if the fish runs directly out from you, then yeah, you can stay put, but that just does not happen very often at all. Now, once these fish tire out, there's a number of things that can happen. First and foremost, I want to let you guys know that primarily what I'm talking about in this video are tarpon. And in the state of Florida, if a tarpon is over 40 inches, you are not allowed to take it out of the water under any circumstances. You can't pull it up with a net. Obviously, you can't gaff it because there's no season on tarpon. You can't keep them. I do know that like you can get tarpon tags for like trophy fishing, but I'm honestly not sure how that works. I know there was a guy that had one this year. He got the tarpon and then FWC ended up taking it. I don't know the whole story behind that, but I do know that that did happen. So you can research tarpon tags, but just in general, your average Joe is not allowed to take a tarpon out of the water on the fishing pier. So for everybody that's like, why do you break them off? Why do you leave the hook in? Well, the reason you do that is because there's no other option really. And honestly, once that pressure comes off of that hook, it's more than likely gonna fall out pretty quick. These guys are catching these with either a treble hook with a live bait or a single hook swim bait. That's mostly what's being used on them. So once that pressure comes off, you're going to have a little bit of a hole there, and that fish is going to drop that hook pretty quickly anyways. The other option is that Okaloosa Island Pier in particular is if you can do it safely, you can take your tarpon up to the beach and you can get in the water with your tarpon. Now what I've seen guys do is they went up there, their buddy ran down, got down on the sand, they dropped the rod down to them, they held the tarpon in place, and usually it takes 3 people to hold these fish. They are giant, guys. This is not a small fish that you're talking about, but it is a sight to see. It really is, just to see these guys go through the process of catching these fish and what goes into the movements that happen out there on the end of the pier. It's a very unique dance, so to speak. When you watch these guys live, it's pretty cool to see. Like, it really is. Maybe someday I'll be lucky enough to get out there and hook one. But I was telling Brant while we were there, I'm like, I'm not even sure that I want to hook one of these fish because I just don't feel like I have the knowledge necessary to safely catch this fish, because that is part of it. You need to make sure that you safely catch these fish. Just getting them up on the side. Basically what happens is, as you guys see right here, I'm actually filming what was considered a caught fish. So this fish was turned up on its side. Basically, once you get their head out of the water or once you get them on their side, somebody on the pier will scream caught fish. At that point, it is a caught fish. They pop them off if they're out towards the end of the pier, which is what you guys are seeing happening here. I just don't know that it would be in my best interest to hook one of those. I mean, in all honesty, because the bottom line is, if I hooked one, like, I don't know that I would have the knowledge to do exactly what I needed to do to work myself around the rail. And then 2, like, I don't know if I could safely get that fish up. I mean, more than likely, I'd probably break him off anyways because that's just my luck. But it is awesome to go out there and watch it. Maybe someday I'll be in a position that I will be able to go out there and I'll be able to target these fish and know what I'm doing. But what's crazy about it is when one of these fish swim up, it's like, and normally it's not just one. Let me preface this by saying that. Normally there are multiple fish that come up on this pier when they're out there fishing. But dude, it's like a lottery at that point. It's like one dude sees it, right? Or multiple people see it. But a lot of times one guy will see one. But as soon as you see a bait hit the water, it's on. Like, it's literally like a barrage of swim baits or LY getting thrown at this fish. And then he's just got a choice. Now, I've never seen it out there, but Brant has told me that one of the things that happen is at some point they'll get out there and they'll just start milling around. They don't come in and then leave and do that constantly. They just hang out. So the best thing to do then is just to put a live bait out there. My guess is if I ever am able to hook into one of these fish, it's going to be one of those fish that swam up and waited and I got it on a live bait. I just don't know that I would ever have the skill to jack one of these fish up with a swim bait. And maybe, you know, maybe someday I'll get lucky and I'll go out there and you know, Brant's a great teacher and he's very patient and, you know, he tries to talk me through things. But when these fish come in, you know, obviously he's going into catch mode. He wants to try to catch one too. And for me, it's just like, you're trying to learn as you go, and in the back of my mind, I'm always like, what am I gonna do if I catch this fish? So yeah, if you're one of those people commenting on these videos talking about how what they should have done and this and that, and it's like, if you've never been out there and you've never witnessed like the real way to handle these, and you're just basing this off what you think, you're probably wrong. If you've never hooked one of these fish or you've never been around people that know what they're doing, it's gonna be really hard for you to get a good idea of the exact etiquette that has to happen when the chaos that ensues in these pier fishing days is just insane. Like, it really is insane. There's so much that goes into catching these fish out there. So, but now, since it is raining, I'm going to try to put Landon's dresser together. He bought his very first dresser off of Amazon ever. I'm not sure why, but he wanted a dresser from Amazon. So we got him a dresser from Amazon, going to put that up. Got a shelf to put up in Chase's room. Sarah is up in Kentucky, so I've got a whole honeydew list that she left for me. So that's what the rest of my afternoon is going to entail. But let's get this dresser put together real quick. Well, that was not nearly as bad as what I was anticipating, if I'm being honest with you guys. Like, I hate putting together furniture. It's literally one of my biggest pet peeves in life. But it seems like that's all Sarah wants to buy, and now the boys are on the same kick. So I'm probably going to be building furniture until the day I die. But hey, you know what? So be it. If that's what it takes to keep them happy, that's what I'll do. Guys, I truly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a great big thumbs up. If you're new here to the Cameraman Ron channel, we would appreciate it so much if you would hit that subscribe button. Guys, I can't wait to see you on the next one. Y'all take care, and we'll see you soon.